Hey, hey, welcome to Theology with KD Bowie. What I'm going to do to you is just break down different stuff with you. And we're going to dive deep into all forms of what God is, the depth of God, and things like that. People try to explain what God is to you. So, as theologians, what we do is we break down to you the different ideas of what God is. It's way beyond Bible teachings and stuff like that. They tell you the foundation of the books and where they come from to give you a better understanding of what you're reading. So the intention is to help you gain knowledge. Therefore, you make a better, informed, intelligent decision in your choices. You see what I mean? And hold on a second, my music kind of loud in the back. Had to give us a little study music, Won't be too quiet around here. But it's we give you a different viewpoint in theology, about how to understand what you're reading, and I believe that the more you understand about what you're reading, the more respect you'll have for what you're reading. And also you'll be able to just have an overall you'll be able to make overall better, intelligent, informed decisions because of how much knowledge you've gained. You see what I mean? So I'm going to give it to you in the form that you're a student, okay, and I'm a college professor, and so you have to understand that's the way it's going to be set up. So if you want to learn with me, then go ahead and get you just get you some, like, just blank paper. Just get you some blank papers and get you some pens. I like, different fancy pens. I bought one of those calligraphy pens, and I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, them suckers is awesome. They cool to write with, but it takes some skills because the ink is like it's straight ink, so it continuously comes out when you're writing. It's really cool though, I like it. People call it calligraphy, but it's really cool because it's kind of it's just something different. But I like fancy different style of ink pens. But so get you an ink pen and get you some paper. If you have two phones, that'd be awesome. Because I have multiple phones and I have one on each side of me. So that phone is playing the music for us, and then my other phone, you have that phone specifically for doing the Google searches. And if you don't need music, you won't need the second phone. And so, but or stereos and things like that. I'm caught up in old school, man. I don't even have a stereo anymore, nothing. And or a radio or something. But and so really you just need one phone. And so you're gonna Google search with that one. So we want that phone set up to just Google search words that we're gonna be able to pull up here. Now you can also go far as I got all kind of books, but you can get the Young's Compact Dictionary. You can see that's old and beat up. I go to old bookstores. I go through shelves at thrift stores, things like that. Get stuff for $1, maybe $1.50. I use thrift books a lot, and that's just thriftbooks.com. I got a lot of my stuff from them. They give you old books. I got books from 1920, 1930, and stuff like that. And so, but you can use the Bible, that dictionary, or you can go to Google and you can cross-check it to make sure it's right if you want. For people who don't trust Google or try to discredit Google and stuff like that, you know what I mean? You're always gonna have people who say, "Well, you didn't get it from a trusted source," and who cares, As long as you got the basic idea of what it meant, you know what I mean? But people overthinking it when you try to freaking start saying that you got to do it a certain way, you got to do it like us, and all this mess. And so, but what I want you to see is this book here is what I want you to get from the thrift books. This is what we're going to be working out of today. The Bible, a History, the Making and Impact of the Bible, by Stephen M. Miller and Robert V. Huber. So the Bible in a history, the making and impact of the Bible. So you can understand how the Bible was made. And they do a really good job in this book breaking it down for you so you can see. And you can see it's kind of beat up a little bit. And that's from the Thrift Books website. See what I mean? So this book is normally $30 brand new, and I got it for $4. You see what I mean? And so that's why you need to use the Thrift Book website, and you can get books really dirt cheap. And they got it's other websites. That's just one that I use. But find the books. Just type it in online and find the book that you want to find. But get that book, okay? Get that book. All right, the Bible, a History, the Making and Impact of the Bible. Okay, because that's one key source for you to understand the history of it. Now, like we talked about, Bible Dictionary, we got that. We have a New International Version Bible. We have a New King James Version Bible. And we have the Old King James Version Bible. I got all kinds of Bibles. I have about 15 different ones, and all different styles and textures. But I've been doing this for a long time. You know what I mean? So that's different. And we'll get to that later on as the messages keep coming and we keep doing courses and classes and things like breaking stuff down. And but let's get into this one. What we're going to focus on today is we're going to focus on the making of the King James Version Bible. Okay, how it got to what it is, all these different things that happened. A lot went on, and it's important that you understand that. And so we're going to focus on the King James, the foundation of the King James Version Bible. And it's important that you understand about these other two books, okay? Because it was two Bibles first. And it's important that you understand about those two Bibles before the King James Version, okay? And so... But what we want to do first off on Theology with Katie Bowie, what we're going to do on this channel is we're going to just be grateful. We're going to speak positivity over ourselves. So we want to say that we're grateful. We're grateful for the spark that keeps our heart beating. Okay? That spark that keeps that heart exploding constantly. You see what I mean? Keep that beat going. You see what I mean? That's a spark. Okay? And it's important that you understand that you be grateful for that spark. Okay? No human being on this earth can explain to you what that spark is. Okay? But that's what keeps that heart going. And we grateful. We are grateful on this channel for that spark. Okay? And so now let's get into the teaching. And so what we're going to do is keep us some pen and paper ready. Get our cell phone ready. And okay, so what we want to do is get our book ready. Get the cell phone ready. Get us some blank papers ready. And let's see here. And okay. Alright. Okay, so we're ready to go. Alright, now King James Version. Let's break it down. Alright, the King James Version. When James the Fourth of Scotland became James I of England in 1603, he was greeted with a petition signed by 1,000 Puritans. Now, as we read along, I'm going to break it down to you in the way that I break it down, so that way you can be where I'm at. Okay, so as a teacher, what we want to do, we want to make sure that you get to where we are, because in college courses, it's a teacher, but we're talking to adults. We're not talking to kids. So I have respect for you as an adult student. You see what I mean? And that's very important to understand, that that's your place in a college course. You are an adult and you deserve respect. I'm not saying I'm above you or you're beneath me or anything like that. It is a simple fact that you chose to click on this channel as a student. So become that student humbly for the sake of learning something, and then you do what you want with it. I'm not telling you how to think or how to live. I'm telling you facts straight from the book, and then you, well, straight from history, and then you take those facts and you go and implement them in your life in different ways. Okay? That same thing ministers do and all that stuff, and that's basically what everybody does in everyday life. And so you gain information, then you take that information and you go do something with it, whether it's business or anything. You must gain information about business first before you become a business person. And so before you just randomly utter stuff about gods and beliefs and religions and spirits and demons and devils, get some backstory of what you're talking about. It'll actually benefit you when you have the conversation, because now, and when you're in a room of people talking about this stuff, it puts you on a different level of intelligence than those surrounding you just talking about the Bible. Okay? And sometimes you gotta learn to just kind of be quiet and let people have that moment. You see what I mean? Especially if you know that you have more knowledge than them of theology or biblical studies or studies of God and wisdom and all this kind of different stuff. So it's not about winning every fight. It's about just really having a level of intelligence, understanding what's going on around you. And anything in life that you gain more knowledge about, it makes you better off because you have more knowledge about it. And so I need to set this dang on phone so I won't have to keep putting my code in. Okay, so what we want to do is, when James IV of Scotland became James I of England in 1603, he was greeted with a petition signed by 1,000 Puritans. So what I want you to do is you go into your Google and you type in Puritans. What I like to do is type in Puritans definition, because if you just type in Puritans, Google will pop up a definition. But then if you type in definitions, it'll take you to dictionary.com and different things like that. And there's different viewpoints. So now, a Puritan, which is just Puritan, Puritan. And so let's make sure we're saying that right. Puritan. All right, the T is silent. And so a member of a group of English Protestants of the late 16th and 17th centuries who regarded the reformation of the Church of England as incomplete. Okay? Now, it's important you understand that now we know what a Protestant is, or now we know what a Puritan is. They're a Protestant of the church. Okay? And so now the Protestants was always against the church. They didn't like the way the church was teaching it. You see what I mean? That's why they call them protest. Okay? Street protests and stuff like that. Protestants. They was protesting against the church. You see what I mean? And that's what these Puritans are. So now, let's read on. Now, so King James, just now becoming King of England in 1603, he was greeted with a petition. Okay, just walking down the street, sign a petition. 1,000 Puritans, okay? 1,000 Protestants. They were not happy with the Church of England, okay? They're not happy with the church. So let's go. They were not happy with the Church of England, or with either of the two popular English Bible translations. The church, they argued, needed to be purified of leftover Catholic influence. And so it's understanding that you must understand that it was one church first, okay? And then you have a second church. So you get Roman Catholics, okay? Then you have Catholics. The Roman Catholics did not get along with the Catholics, okay? And so this is important that you understand this. And so you can get a good understanding of what he's talking about, okay? So this is why the leftover Catholic influence. See what I mean? So we got Roman Catholic, then Catholics, then come along later with another style of church. You see what I mean? So then we got the church. They argued needed to be purified of leftover Catholic influences on the church, such as the offices of bishop, clerical robes, and the heavy emphasis on rituals. So that means that they're against having bishops. They're against clerical robes and wearing all this fancy stuff that a lot of them people be wearing. You see what I mean? These people are against that stuff. And the heavy emphasis on rituals. So they're against rituals. You see what I mean? So these people didn't like the fact that the blood sacrifices of animals and burnt offerings and stuff like this. They didn't like it. See what I mean? This is in the 1600s. They didn't like the way the church was going. Okay, and that's why it's so important for you to understand that if you have any doubts today in the year 2025 about the church, you're not alone. This has been going on since the 16th century. They always had an issue with the way these people was doing things, and they just stood up against it. Okay, and that's okay. There's no problem with it. But they had to take it to the king when they had a problem. You see what I mean? They didn't go to the church and argue with the church. You see what I mean? No, that's not how they did it. They went above the church to the king and tried to get the king's influence the king to change it. You see? And that's how you get real change. You know, going to the top person that can make things happen. See what I mean? Not wasting your time talking to people that can't change anything. You know what I mean? That's a wasted conversation. And arguing with people that can't make any actual change. So now, remember, the Protestants don't like this. They don't like the bishop, the clerical robes. They don't like the emphasis on rituals. As for the popular Bibles of the day, now this is important right here. Write this down. Okay, this is important. So we want to write this down. All right, so as for the popular Bibles of the day, all right, so write down the Geneva Bible. Okay, now these are the popular Bibles in the 1600s. Okay, so the Geneva Bible, actually 1560, so that's 15th century Bible. Okay. These are the popular Bibles in these days. The Geneva Bible and the Bishop's Bible. The Bishop's Bible is from 1568. Okay? So we got the Geneva Bible. Write that down. Date 1560. And we're going to order these online, okay? And when I get them, we'll do a video. We're going to get the Geneva book, and we're going to get the Bishop's Bible. That's the next one we're going to talk about. So write the Geneva. That's Geneva, Geneva. The Geneva Bible, 1560. And also the Bishop's Bible, 1568. So what that means? That means the Geneva Bible is older than the Bishop Bible. See what I mean? So the Geneva Bible first, 60. 8 years later, in 1568, you got the Bishop's Bible. Okay, now, so write that down. The Bishop's Bible. Bishop is BISHOPS. Bishop's Bible. And I'm going to spell stuff out because some of my people are not the best spellers. And we still love you on this channel. Alright, and Puritans. So the Puritans said they were not accurate. So now the Protestants, okay, that came to King James with this petition, It's saying that the Geneva Bible in the I'm sorry. I had to laugh at myself. I'm like, G unit? Nah. And so but the Puritans, the Puritans said they were not accurate. Okay, and so basically, the Puritans are saying that the Geneva Bible is not to their satisfaction. Now you just protesting against the church. Okay, now you're saying you don't like the way the Geneva Bible is written. You don't like the way the Bishop Bible is written. Okay, so remember, they're protesting against the foundation of the church. That's what the Puritans are doing. So the Puritans said they were not accurate. Now King James liked the Church of England. See, he liked the Church of England as it was. He liked his bishop-led hierarchy in its rituals, and especially its description of the king as defender of the faith. Since King James believed it was God's will that he rule, see how that worked in his favor, to believe that old way of thinking? Well, if I made it to king, that means God wanted me to be here. You got to understand, it was like that back in the day. Anytime you won a battle or lost a battle, they say it was God's will that I won the battle. It was God's will that I lost the battle. See? And that's what's going on nowadays in the church, where people say, well, it wasn't God's will that happened to me. I lost a job, or I got the job, or I got a pay raise or something. It wasn't God's will that I have it then. And see that connection? See, it's been like that for years. It's nothing new to have that viewpoint. Okay? When you succeed, well, I guess God wanted me to succeed. When you fail, I guess God wanted me to fail. That's an old church viewpoint. See? And then the King James even agreed with that viewpoint. See? And but James agreed with the Puritans on one point, though. See? King James agreed with the Puritans. Okay? He wanted a new Bible translation. So King James did want a new Bible translated. And but the Puritans did not like the Bishop's Bible, which was the preferred version for reading in the church. See, so the Bishop's Bible was the one that you're supposed to taught in the church. Okay, don't forget, we're going to buy that. We're going to go buy one of those, and we're going to talk about it. And so the Puritans did not like the Bishop's Bible, which was the preferred version for reading in the church. It was not Protestant enough. James, so, wait a minute. Yeah, the Puritans did not like the Bishop's Bible because it wasn't Protestant enough. You get what I mean? King James, on the other hand, hated the Geneva Bible. Okay, so King James didn't like the Geneva Bible, which was the most popular among the people. It was probably the version that William Shakespeare drew for his plays. Its running commentary was too Protestant. Besides, it did not show enough respect for kings. For example, a note in the margin beside Exodus 1 said, Hebrew midwives in the time of baby Moses were right to disobey the Egyptian king's order to kill newborn boys. You see, so we got an issue with the way that the story is being told. You see, we're talking about a king here. King James is saying that the way the Bible was written doesn't show favoritism toward kings. See, so kings are saying, well, we want favoritism showed toward us in the books. But wait a minute. The book's supposed to be about God. You see, this is why you need to understand the foundation of what you're reading. Okay? Now, we're going to get to how he translated this stuff. But understand, the Geneva Bible's first. See? Then Bishop Bible. Then change again. Then change again. Then change again. Then you get to the one you didn't taught on Sunday in the church. See? So, make sure you know the foundation of these books before you just sit up here and say, that this is just the word of God. You see, you need to understand that this thing has been translated multiple times. And it's important you understand that, okay? So it is not what it was. So be careful with it. Okay, and somebody telling you to trust it in the way it is, because it is not the original way it was written. Okay? You have to know the history of any book that is leading people of mass movements. Okay? You need to know the foundation of that. And so, in a note beside 2 Chronicles chapter 15, criticized King Asa for not executing his idol-worshiping mother. So let's just see how much it's been altered. Let's jump over here to get an example of how much it's been altered. So we're going to go to the King James Version, and I'm going to use giant print. I ain't got my glasses on, but I can still see. I just can't see some stuff. Super tiny stuff. What some people call it farsighted. Okay, so let's just jump over here to see if it's been altered to the point where it's not even recognizable. Well, that doesn't direct us enough, so we'll just check it out. Okay, let's just jump. Exodus chapter 1. Okay, so Exodus chapter 1. Oh, you're right. Okay, so the King James Version, in Exodus chapter 1, so King James felt like it didn't show enough respect for kings. And it did not show enough respect for kings. For example, a note in the margin beside Exodus chapter 1 said Hebrew midwives in the time of baby Moses. Remember, we're talking about baby Moses in the basket found in the Nile River. You see what I mean? By the Egyptian princess, who found Moses in the basket. Okay, floating down the river. Now this is the time of Moses being a baby. Okay. And said that Hebrew midwives in that time were right to disobey the Egyptians' king order to kill newborn boys. Okay, so the Egyptian king is telling them to kill newborn boys. You see what I mean? Now you got to understand the mind frame of the reason why they saying kill newborn boys, because a boy is a threat to you. You get what I mean? As a king, you will rise up against me. And this goes all the way back to Greek mythology. See what I mean? So if you have a son, you're in more danger of him trying to take over your kingdom. You see what I mean? And reign as king. And so, but that's an old viewpoint, you know what I'm saying? So don't get that misunderstood. These are people saying, you're not going to take my damn power away. I don't give a damn who you are. You see what I mean? And if you're my son, you're going to shut the hell up and sit down, and you're going to learn life the way I want you to teach it, and you're going to rule this kingdom the way it's been ruled for generations. And that's why you have so many young men now that stand up against their fathers and be like, no, I want to run things different. The father is saying the reason you have to do it this way, boy, is because people are not worthy of being king like us. You see what I mean? So you have to understand that. Put yourself in the king's shoes for a second, and then understand it when you're trying to see this. So let's understand this part. In Exodus chapter 1 in the King James Version, now this is King James Version that he allowed to be created. This is the King James Bible that we use today. King James, we're talking about why he allowed this to stay in here. So this is what he did. In King James, Exodus, now in the second book of Moses, Exodus, chapter 1, verse 15. Let's read from that. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Puah. And he said, When ye do the office of midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son born, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. Okay? And but the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the man children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said unto them, Why have ye done this? Why are you not killing the boys like I told you to do? And have saved the man children alive. And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, Because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered, the midwives come in unto them. And therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. Okay, so that's a viewpoint there in the scripture of basically where this is what King James had disagreed with, the disrespect, disobeying the king. Okay, that's what you need to see there. King James didn't like it, but he still allowed for it to be in his book. Okay, for whatever reason. Okay, now, but he just didn't like the fact that the midwives were allowed to disobey their king, because the king is saying, kill all those newborn boys. All we need is girls. See what I mean? You got to put it in mind, you're going to probably impregnate them all and just build a nation. You know what I mean? So, and they basically just want everything to themselves. You know what I mean? So, and so now, so King James disagreed with that part, that they allowed that to be put in the Bible to disobey a king. Now let's talk about 2 Chronicles, where the king was criticized for executing his idol-worshiping mother. That's it. So the king Asa was criticized for not executing his idol-worshiping mother. And so King James disagreed with that. You see what I mean? So, I don't know why he would disagree with that, other than the fact that he didn't believe that he should, that his mother should die. Oh, okay, I get it. For a king, shouldn't nobody be criticizing you in the first damn place. That's what's going on. So, a possibility there. So what he's saying is, as a king, who are you to criticize me? What is this? Why are you even speaking on me? I'm a king. You don't speak on what I do. You know what I mean? If I'm not going to kill my mother because she worships a golden calf, that's my business, not yours. That's the woman who birthed me out. You know what I mean? So this king, even though he may rule a way that people may disagree, modern day people, but he's saying, well, I'm not going to kill the woman that birthed me out. You see? Even though some people think he should because of what she believes. Now he could have understanding like some of us do, like I know about the power of belief. So you know, it doesn't matter what you believe in necessarily. It just, as long as you have something to believe in. So it's a respect there for some people who believe in something. So some people out here say, well, it's good to have faith. Faith in something is better than faith in nothing. You know what I mean? So, but those are different viewpoints. So let's continue. So now we checked on those two things that King James had a problem with. So let's keep going. Okay, now we're going to talk about what King James, we talked about the two Bibles we got. Okay, now we finished to alter these Bibles. Now come on, let's see what King James talking about. So King James calls a meeting, okay, in January of 1604. During his first year on the throne, James called a meeting to evaluate the state of the church in England. Gathering at the King's command in Hampton Court Palace were Church of England bishops, ministers, and professors, along with 4 Puritan church leaders. The purpose, as King James explained it, was for the hearing and for the determining and things claimed to be amiss in the church. So he's bringing these groups together to have a meeting about what the issue is with the church. Okay, people saying it's a problem with the church. So like, well, let's have a meeting to see what the problem is with the church. Okay, this is what King James is doing. Then the conference was almost a total failure for the Puritans, which is the Protestant Christians, and they did not get the Protestant-friendly reforms they wanted for the Church of England. Okay. In fact, King James said they had better learn to accept the church as it was, or he would force them out of the land. King James said, shut up, accept the church as it is, or get out of the country. You see what I mean? That's King James right there. So, I mean, some people talk bad about him, but he telling them, leave the church alone. You Protestants who don't like the way the church is, you don't like it, get out of our country then. You see what I mean? So remember, when people tell you in the United States of America you don't like it and get out the country, that's not them. That's old kings talk like that. See? You see King James said it right there himself. Now, and so yeah, he forced them out the land. If they don't if they won't accept it. And one thing the Puritans did get, though, however, was the king's approval for a new Bible translation. Okay? So now King James approved them to create a new translation, though. Okay? Now, translation, though, does not mean altering. Let's see, we'll get into that. That means you can't alter the words. See, but you can translate it from Hebrew to English. See what I mean? Or from Old English to New English. See what I mean? Or from Greek to English, or from Egyptian hieroglyphics. See what I mean? To English. You see what I mean? For just an example. And so, because hieroglyphics in Egyptian is, symbols. So you got to translate it to English. And so King James said he would like an accurate translation to replace the other English versions, to become the only version read in church. He wanted the work done by England's best Bible scholars and linguists, and he did not want any commentary added to the margins. Work began that year. The king wrote to Richard Bancroft, Bishop of London, reporting that he had chosen 54 men for the project, though only 47 are known to have part in what happened. These men, representing both the Church of England, Anglicans, which you can find here in America, like I'm in Oklahoma, so therefore, which is a state in the United States, and then you can find us here. You see what I mean? And so you can find churches here, Anglican churches. They are here right now. You know what I mean? So this, I need you to understand, we're talking 1600s and today is an Anglican church down the street from you. Okay? So you understand that. These men representing both the Church of England, the Anglicans, and the Puritans, the Protestants, that man represented both of them, were divided into 6 translation teams, working with 3 cities in southern England. Now this is how massive this is. You understand how big this is? Said I mean to write the Bible? Come on, y'all, look at this. Reporting that he had chosen 54 men for the project, though only 47 are known to have taken part in creating this. 47 people. Okay? These men representing both the Church of England and the Church of the Puritans were divided into 6 translation teams. Okay? So we're talking 47 men divided into 6 groups. Divided into groups of in 6 different groups in teams, working in 3 different cities in southern England. All right? 2 teams worked at Oxford, 2 at Cambridge, and 2 at Westminster, in what is now London. At Oxford, a team of 7 men translated Isaiah through Malachi, while a team of 8 translated the Gospels, the Acts, the book of Acts, and Revelation. At Cambridge, 8 worked on 1 Chronicles through Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is one of my favorite books that is in the Bible library. While 7 others translated the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha, that's going to be Apocrypha. At Westminster, 10 were assigned Genesis. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, my bad. I got excited, y'all. Let's look up that word, okay? Okay, Apocrypha. Sorry, we're supposed to be breaking stuff down. Okay, so at Cambridge, 8 worked on 1 Chronicles through Ecclesiastes, while 7 others translated the, let's see how to say it. Apocrypha. We was right pretty good, see? The Apocrypha. Biblical or related writings not forming part of the accepted canon scripture. Oh, okay. Just other biblical writings, extra biblical writings. Okay? And so 7 others translated all of the other biblical writings, okay? Which is the Apocrypha. Now, at Westminster, 10 were assigned Genesis to 2 Kings, and 7 worked on Romans to Jude. Okay, sorry. At Westminster, 10 were assigned to Genesis through 2 Kings. Look at that. It took 10 people to do that. You see what I mean? I understand, because I've been doing this stuff for a long time. It's not easy to do it by yourself when you're trying to break stuff down. And so 10 were assigned Genesis to 2 Kings, and 7 worked on Romans through Jude. After each group finished its translation, their work was reviewed by a committee of 12 scholars, made up of 2 men from each of the translation teams. A set of 15 general A set of 15 general rules guided the translations. Amongst the most important were these. So a set of 15 general rules guided the translators. Among the most important were these. All right? The new version, they're talking about the new Bible that's supposed to be created. The new version was to follow the bishop's Bible. Now remember, the bishop's Bible was the Bible that was allowed to be taught in the church. So the new version was to follow the bishop's Bible as much as possible. Scholars were to make only the changes necessary for accuracy. Translators were free to draw from many other versions in an attempt to find the best way of expressing the message contained in the original Bible languages. There would be no marginal notes except those needed to clarify Hebrew and Greek words or to point out related Bible passages. This was to allow the Bible to speak for itself and to keep translators from inserting their own interpretations. Translators were to retain traditional church office terms instead of substituting terms that many Protestants preferred. See, the Protestants wanted to substitute a lot of different things, but they didn't allow that. Okay? And for example, the translators were to use priest instead of elder and church instead of congregation. And it's important to understand that part right there. So let's repeat that one sentence. With that one paragraph. Translators were to retain traditional church office terms instead of substituting terms that many Protestant Christians preferred. For example, the translators were to use priest instead of elder and church instead of congregation. Why is that so important for you? Because of this right here, which is being forced to be used by most churches today, which is the New International Version. Now remember, King James is dead and gone. Okay? So be careful with people translating these books. You see what I mean? And so people translating these books, you have to be careful with those words that they're using, because if they start translating them and if they start to substitute terms, okay, that means you're literally changing the whole entire Bible. Okay? And that's important because that's what's being done in the New International Version. Okay? It's totally changed. Like the wording is completely different, where you could be misled into believing that it's saying something totally different than it originally said. See what I mean? And so even some people tried to hate on King James Version because they disagreed with it. But y'all got to be careful of that too, because you got bad actors out there who are literally trying to make up things about King James to discredit him. So you will just worship their book, which really, what was the point in creating a whole new Bible? Seriously, what was the point? You already have a Bible. Why do you got to redo it again? You see what I mean? So you have to be careful in understanding that if all the ministers are forced to use this book, then therefore there is a problem there. Okay? There could be a bad actor who's trying to give you a narrative to try to change and fit a narrative. You see what I mean? And so that's very dangerous. Just like the most recent thing, they talked about the Donald Trump Bibles or something like that. That was a thing for a minute. And a lot of the Christian pastors were angry with that. Okay, because they was like, whoa, you mean to tell me you finna to what? You finna to alter the Bible to put American Constitution in it. That Bible has nothing to do with America. America didn't even exist. You see what I mean? And so we're talking 15th, 16th century. What are you talking about? And so, but that is what you're at risk of now if you start allowing people to substitute terms. And so that's why it's important for you to have a history lesson of what you're dealing with there when it comes to these books. And so, well, let's continue reading. Now we got the new Bible. All right, it's being put together. It's the 1600s. It's the year 1611. Okay? A new Bible in 1611. It took about 3 years for each of the translation teams to finish their initial drafts. 3 years to rewrite this book. And sometimes working individually and sometimes in conference. Oh, sorry, the glare of my light on my reading is making me not see. Let me see. Is that? It's not too dark. Okay. Yeah, and so it took about 3 years for each of the translation teams to finish their initial drafts. Sometime working individually and sometimes in conference. No, keep that on. And okay, so and yeah, hold on one second. Let me get a swig of water. And so yeah, a new Bible in 1611, the year 1611. It took about 3 years for each of the translation teams to finish their initial drafts, sometimes working individually and sometimes in conference. Another 3 years were spent in revision. The translators were meticulous and made no apologies for being more concerned about the quality of their work than the speed. Now, that's a lesson for you to take in life. These people were saying, people were like, man, y'all taking forever to do that. You see me? Y'all taking too long. Don't worry about those kind of people, okay? Because when you take your time to do things, that's a good example. The lady that just made a song recently, Megan Thee Stallion, she made a song and it's called Bigger in Texas. And in the song, as the artist is speaking in the song, she says that I'm not going to make a fool of myself, not quoting her, but it's along these lines, is that I'm not going to speed up. She's going to do things at her pace so that she's not made a fool of. Okay, and that was the point. Some people out here are rushing into things, and it's no different than you in low income communities. It's known for people to buy a vehicle and go and put very expensive wheels on the vehicle, but they have not got the oil changed or the transmission fluid checked. See what I mean? So that means they're on expensive wheels, but the transmission gave out or the motor gave out because they're not doing the core issues first, which just simply means that they're rushing to get their shine on. You know what I mean? And so what you want to do is you want to take your time, make sure that the inner parts are working properly first, then shine outwardly. Okay? Because you have fixed your core. You see what I mean? And but what it is so the translators were meticulous and made no apologies. So you're not saying I'm sorry for taking too long on what I'm doing. No. They had no apologies for being more concerned about quality of their work than their speed. Oh man, you got there fast. Yeah, but it wasn't quality work. Sometimes quality work takes time. Okay? And we did not disdain to revise that which we had done. They later explained, and to bring back to the anvil that which we had hammered, but having and using as great helps as were needful, and fearing no reproach for slowness. Okay. We did not disdain to revise that which we had done, they later explained, and to bring back to the anvil that which we had hammered, but having and used as great helps as were needed, and fearing no reproach from slowness. The result of their tedious work was a black letter edition measuring 41 centimeters, 16 inches by 27 centimeters, 10 inches, and published in London in 1611. We never thought from the beginning, the translators wrote in the preface, that we should need to make a new translation, because they drew so heavily on previous versions. They said they were simply making out of many good ones. Because they drew so heavily on previous versions, they said they were simply making out of many good ones one principal good one. So basically saying the Bible doesn't need to be remade. You see what I mean? And then the scholars dictated their work to the man who ordered the project, the most high and mighty Prince, King James. By the grace of God, King of Great Britain, France, and Ireland, defender of the faith. It was after the king that this version took its name. Now, this is the man they're talking about, King James, okay? They refer to him as Prince James, by the grace of God, King of Great Britain, France, Ireland, defender of the faith. It was after the king that this version took its name, King James Version. And he made sure that it was held to its original standard. So you got to have respect for King James. He said, because he could have altered it, but he didn't. He didn't allow them to alter it because he respected the hierarchy part of it. Because he knew that everyone wasn't going to be able to be associated with everyone, kind of like the hip hop artist. Oh God, I forgot his name. T.I., that's it. The hip hop artist T.I., when he refers to a giraffe, should not be concerned about the ways of a turtle. And so what he's saying is simply that it is a level of hierarchy. And so this is why the king may not be able to sit around and have a conversation with just certain people. You see what I mean? Because he's on another level. So his conversation is different. And you have to be careful. Not all people of lower standards are bad people, but some of them can get offended when they're around kings, okay? Because your conversations are about massive things that are getting accomplished. And if they're not accomplishing massive things, then it could easily seem like you're always talking about big things. But the reason the king is always talking about big things is because he's accomplishing big things. The king is accomplishing massive things. We're talking that take time and dedication and sacrifice. So he's going to talk different than people who have nothing to sacrifice or that are not accomplishing very large things. You get it? So this is why he's referring to, just an example of why the king understands that. So he respects that. And that's part of the issue when people say, well, what, you think you better than us? And it's not a matter of being better, it's a matter of they are accomplishing more than you. So therefore, when they talk about their accomplishments, someone who is not accomplishing the same amount can easily get offended, and a king can just avoid that by shutting the gates to his kingdom. And I use that same concept. You see what I mean? I keep the gates to my kingdom closed, so therefore I don't have to deal with any outside source unless I allow that outside source in to be around a king. You see what I mean? So it is how you rule your kingdom. Okay? And so this is what King James understood, and King James deserves respect for that part. You see what I mean? Having respect for the old versions of the Bibles and things like that. And so this version, because of this great king, is why this version took its name. Its name is after King James. The translation also came to be known as the Authorized Version, although there is no surviving evidence that the king formally gave it his stamp of approval, declaring it the official Bible of England. He did, however, permit it to be published. So that means the king, still having doubts in his mind about the Exodus part where the king wasn't respected. You see what I mean? About the women disobeyed the king by keeping them boys instead of killing them newborn sons. So it's not that he was like, well, I don't love it, but I'll allow it. You see what I mean? So the king permitted it to be published. So that means King James allowed it to be published, but he didn't necessarily say, I love it, which is put his stamp on it. Okay? That means he signed the back of it and said, I agree. Because you got to understand that the Bible is simply a definition. It's a The Bible is a collection. That's it. A Bible is a library. Okay, matter of fact, let's just pull that up and see. Let's do a Google search on that real quick, y'all. Just type in Bible definition. It might give us what we want. Okay, Bible. Okay. Okay, there we go. So you got one offering essential book, in essential book, then scriptures, guide. It's not giving us what we want. The Jewish scriptures consist of the Torah, a book regarding handbook, the Greek word biblios. Okay, there we go. Originally, scroll. Okay, that's it. And so it's got basically different viewpoints, but it's not giving us what we want. What we want is library. Okay, so the Nag Hammadi library, that breaks it down to a group of books. You see what I mean? And that's what the Bible is. It's a collection of books on a bookshelf, and so that is a good idea for you to understand what it's supposed to look like. Okay, and I actually hold on a second. I got one right here. I'm gonna show you real quick. 1 second here. Okay, because I want you to see this, and I had to check my bookshelf because I'm like, I got all kind of stuff here because this is important. And let's see here. Okay, so let's go. Here we go. See that? You see how that's set up? And that's the Bible. You get what I mean? So what they did was they put it on the bookshelf for you so you can understand what's happening. So you got Genesis through Deuteronomy. Those are 5 books on a bookshelf. You get it? And then so what they did was they took all 66 of those books and combined them into one. And that's the rest of the books, which is on the second page. That's the New Testament books. And so you got 66 of them different books all jammed into one. You get what I mean? So therefore you get the holy collection of books. So Holy Bible. Okay, let's go on here. So King James published it. He allowed it to be published. And let me see here, make sure I'm not skipping over nothing. Okay. Oh no, we're good. Alright, now. Critics and supporters. Not everyone immediately warmed to the King James Version. In fact, the popular Geneva Bible, which King James so desperately wanted his new version to displace, lived on in continuing reprints for more than 30 years. Okay? The Geneva Bible continued to be printed for 30 years after King James Version Bible. Okay? And lived on in continuing reprints. Many Puritans preferred the staunchly Protestant Geneva Bible, and in 1643, in the year 1643, printed excerpts of it in the Soldier's Pocket Bible, issued to the army of Puritan leader Oliver Cromwell. And it was the Geneva Bible, not the King James Version, okay, that many Puritans carried with them to the New World of America. Okay? So now, not the King James Version that many Puritans carried. Okay? So that means that we're talking the United States now. Okay? And the people are starting to come over here. Okay? They're starting to bring over the religion. And so now, the first religion they came over and brought over was what? The Geneva Bible. That is what came over first. Okay? And then, not the King James Version. Okay? That many Puritans carried with them to the New World of America. One scholar of the day was especially vicious in his criticism of the King James Version. Hugh Broughton, a renowned professor who had argued for a new translation, and who must have been upset that the king did not appoint him to help in the project. All they saying is somebody was mad. Somebody was possibly mad that he didn't appoint him to help him create it. You know what I mean? And but tell His Majesty, Broughton wrote in a letter to the palace, I had rather be rent in pieces with wild horses than any such translation by my consent should be urged upon poor churches. The new edition crosseth me. I require it to be burnt. He said, burn the King James Version. One professor, he didn't like it. Despite its detractors, by the end of the 1600s, the King James Version had become the Bible for English-speaking people. And as Roman Catholic priest Alexander Geddes put in the 1792, if accuracy, fidelity, and the strictest attention to the letter of text be supposed to constitute the qualities of an excellent version, this of all versions must in general be accounted the most excellent. Wow. See? And see, people had they had put in the some people really liked it, King James Version. You know, they really appreciated it. You know, they thought it was a great work. I mean, it took 50-something man to create it. You know, man, yeah, give them some credit. And the fact that they didn't alter it, I got some respect for that. You know, that they didn't alter it really. The King James Version was revised in later editions to correct mistakes. These corrected versions often became the New Standard in 1629. The first King James Version printed in Cambridge dropped the Apocrypha. Oh, okay, so we got rid of that. Remember the 7 men worked on the Apocrypha, the other scriptures. Now they got rid of those out of the Bible. See, that's why you don't have them in your modern day Bible. They start cutting stuff out. All right, now, a practice that caught on because it reduced the cost of the Bible by eliminating the section considered least reliable. Okay, so they just cutting off stuff that they was like is not a reliable source. Throughout the years, the King James Version's elegant language and rhythmic prose made it a delight to read and to hear. Gave it a delight to read and to hear being read. It also made the verses easier to memorize and without editorial comments in the margin. This Bible allowed a variety of interpretations, drawing a broad following from the Protestant to the Catholic. So that means Protestants Christians, which is your Christians, protesting against the Catholic Church. Remember, that's how you get Christians. They are people who just protested against the Catholics, so you end up getting a Christian because you don't want to be a Catholic, even though the Catholics are the original church. See what I mean? And so Christian basically is a Catholic anyway, but some of them don't want to admit that. But as a theologian, we have to tell you the facts. See what I'm saying? If you're a Christian, you're a Catholic, whether you like it or not. You're just a Christian. You're just a Catholic who doesn't like the church the way that it used to be. If you claim you're a Christian, okay, and but it's understandable. It was only the Roman Catholics and the Catholics that was the church. Okay, there was no Christian. You understand? And just so you want to make a point about the Christian fact is that to be a Christian, all that means is that so picture Oklahoma, for instance. So because I live in Oklahoma, I'm a Oklahoman. Right? Because I live in Oklahoma, I'm an Oklahoman. Right? So because you don't like the old church, only believe in Christ, you only believe in Jesus, and you agree that Jesus is the Christ, makes you what? A Christian. See what I mean? So what you're doing is you're claiming that Christ is the only thing I believe in. So therefore, Christ is my state. You see what I mean? Christ is my foundation, is what you're saying as a Christian. So you're saying that I am a Christian. All right? And it's important that you understand that as a modern day, every Sunday going Christian. So you'll understand. And if you're one of those people like me, theological level, and it's different, so you understand those people who do that. You see what I mean? Who are involved in the church every Sunday. This helps you understand them and why they are the way they are. And a lot of them don't know the foundations of this stuff, but that's why I create this. Because say you are an everyday Christian and then you hear this and you say, oh wow, I didn't know that. That's what I am basically. See what I mean? My whole Christian religion is based off disliking the church. Disliking the Catholic way of doing things. You see what I mean? And no matter what version of the Bible they do, they can't alter it too much. But the New International Version is about the farthest I've seen them try to go. You see what I mean? Where they're changing words and stuff completely around. And but you can even see, like I was saying King James didn't alter it, but it looks like they did revise it, and they removed some stuff, saying that it was too thick. So I'm gonna try to find those apocrypha, and if I can find them, you know what I mean, then I'm gonna get those, and we're gonna talk about them on another message too. And we're gonna end this. We got a few more paragraphs here, and then we're gonna end this one. And I thank you so much for joining me. And okay, throughout the years, the King James Version's elegant language and rhythmic poise made it a delight to read and to be heard read. Also made the verses easier to memorize, and without editorial comments in the margin, this Bible allowed a variety of interpretations, drawing a broad following from Protestants to Catholic. It was more than 250 years before a serious attempt was made to displace the aging version with an updated translation. Okay, sorry. And without editorial, sorry, I'm getting tired. My words are running together. And without editorial comments in the margin, this Bible allowed a variety of interpretations, drawing a broad following from Protestant to Catholic. Okay. Alright, so Protestants and Catholics both grabbed onto this new view of the Bible, the King James Version, without the Apocrypha. It was more than 250 years before a serious attempt was made to displace the aging version with the updated translation. The English Revised Version in 1800s, okay, now we're up into the 1800s, From this revision sprang an American variation called the American Standard Version. See? And then the American Standard Version was in the year 1901. Okay? Followed by the Revised Standard Version in 1952. And the New Revised Standard Version in 1989. See, I'm an 80s baby. See what I mean? So, just after I was born, they revised it again and made a new Revised Standard Version in 1989. Revisions like these were necessary because language continually changes in time. The King James Version became hard to understand, much like the works of William Shakespeare of the same vintage. The average reader today probably would not realize that I prevented the dawning of the morning. I prevented the dawning of the morning in Psalms 119. In Psalms 119, 147, King James Version means I got up before dawn. Still, the King James Version has had an incredible effect on the English language. And I understand that right there, that people not understanding, because my older brother used to talk to me about that and say that he didn't understand the language. See what I mean? That was in the King James Version. And I got it. I knew exactly what he was talking about, because I was like, okay, I get what you're saying. With those words, thou and thus forth and all these different words. And so me, like, I loved studying this stuff, so I was able to break it down and understand it better. But I understand there are people out there that be like, that's just too much, because you're talking in riddles. You know what I mean? So I understand that. And just like I wouldn't have understood that either. Like, so, yeah, in Psalms 119, 147, in the King James Version, okay, so... We about to end this, but let's jump over here and look at what he's talking about real quick. So let's get the King James Version Bible and go to it real quick and look what he's talking about. Psalms 119. All right, Psalms 119, 143. Okay, wait, no. Psalms 119, 147. Okay, that's it. It say, I prevented the dawning of the morning and cried, I hoped in thy word. I prevented the dawning of the morning. Okay? And he's saying, what that means is I got up before dawn. See? If you read that I prevented the dawning of the morning, that means that, like, maybe you stayed in bed. That's one viewpoint. I prevented the dawning of the morning. That means that, yeah, you stayed in bed, or you shut the curtains, and you you just stayed in there. You know what I mean? You prevented the dawning of the morning. And he's saying, but what it meant is I got up before 12 noon. So they said that's why they had to alter that, because it's like, wait, hey, we don't understand what you're saying. And still the King James Version had an incredible effect on the English language. Many of our most common sayings come directly from the version of the Bible, forbidden fruit, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 17, at wit's end. Ooh, okay, yeah, let's jump over and check some of these out. This is the last paragraph, guys. We're going to end this session. So let's jump over. Genesis chapter 2, verse 17. Let's see what they talking about. I was just talking to my sister about that the other night. Telling that the fruit had nothing to do with food. Now let's see if I was right. Genesis chapter 2, verse 17. But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in that day thou shalt thou shalt eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. Forbidden fruit. That's in Genesis 2:17. At wit's end. Psalms 107. Going a second mile. Oh, okay, they just saying some points. They're not explaining it. So they just saying that a lot of the common sayings that we use, like forbidden fruit, came from King James's version, basically. But that's not what it means. You know, it doesn't. We'll get into that on another session. But basically, they were just saying a lot of the sayings that we use today, like forbidden fruit, at wit's end. I'm at my wit's end, or going on a second mile. These were found in Genesis, forbidden fruit, at wit's end, Psalm 107:27, and going a second mile is in Matthew 5:41. In time, some scholars say the King James Version will eventually become a historic piece, like the Geneva in the Bishop's Bible. Too archaic for most people to understand. I understand that. I get it. It is. It's hard for most people to really understand it. And others warn that there have been many attempts to bury the King James Version, but announcements of its death have been premature. Some 4 centuries after it was created, new copies are still being printed and sold today. That's real. I was visiting a local Dollar Tree store recently, and they got the King James Version Bibles in there for $1. You know what I mean? So they haven't went nowhere. They're still right there. So that's the story of the King James Version Bible. It's powerful, you know, and it's important. And people didn't like it at first, but they warmed up to it, you know, and they had gained respect for it. And so, all right, y'all, we're going to end that session today. That's the foundation of the King James Version Bible. Thank you for joining me with Theology with KD Bowie. And we'll talk to you on the next one.